Today being the 23rd of June of 2025, the trial of Simon has continued, but this time it's for a possible bail. Yes, in this video, we're going to be using illustrative videos and pictures to better portray our point. Mind you, these pictures and videos are not coming from the court of law. These videos are used for illustrative purposes only. Meanwhile, just in case you want to fact check us or just in case you want to follow up with every single thing that will be said in this video, please feel free to visit the Paijihame District Court official website to get first-hand transcript and to get first-hand info for yourself. With all of that being said, let's start this video and showcase every single thing that happened today in the court of law. First thing first, Mr. Simon was live in person. Yes, he was live in person in the court of law today. He was represented by his lawyer in the person of Carl Kumeres. The prosecuting lawyer was also present in the court proceedings. The court session started by Simon's lawyer making a proposal and asking the presiding judge for a particular request. So the question here is, what is Simon's lawyer asking the court to grant his client? Well, this man was asking the presiding judge to possibly grant Mr. Simon a bail. To better understand every single thing that was said in the courtroom, let's listen to the words coming from Simon's official lawyer. He said, and I quote, "May it please the Honorable Court, my lord, I rise respectfully to apply for the release of the defendant on bail. The law is clear. Bail is a right, not a favor. My client remains innocent until proven guilty, and there are no facts before this court suggesting he's a flight risk, that he will interfere with witnesses, or that he will obstruct the course of justice. He has a known place of residence, verifiable sureties, and strong ties to the community. He has also cooperated fully with the authorities and has shown no indication of evading trial. Detaining him further serves no just purpose and only infringes on his fundamental rights. My lord, should the court be minded to impose conditions, we are willing to comply fully, be it travel restrictions, reporting requirements, or any terms that the court sees fit. In the interest of justice and fairness, I must respectfully urge your lordship to grant bail to the defendant. I'm obliged, my lord." And this, like I said, is a statement coming from Simon's lawyer, where he was asking the presiding judge to grant his client, Simon, a possible bail. But then that did not even end there. The prosecuting lawyer had to respond to the application or to the submission of the defendant lawyer. The prosecuting lawyer stood up to object or to prevent the court from granting Simon a possible bail. He claimed that this man, if you grant him bail, he will somehow, some way influence the individuals, influence the IPOB, influence the southeastern region of Nigeria, and somehow, some way create insecurity in the country. Yes, the prosecuting lawyer was fully against the bail condition or to grant Simon a full bail. Yes, the prosecuting lawyer said if you grant this man bail, he will somehow, some way influence individuals in Nigeria. He will somehow, some way drop a tweet or send a message to his government, to the USP, and this can trigger insecurity in Nigeria or to create individuals to stay at home for a lengthy period. Yes, the prosecuting lawyer also made a speech addressed to Simon himself. He states, and I quote, "Mr. Simon, would you confirm to this honorable court that you have on multiple occasions published content online promoting the secession of Biafra from the Federal Republic of Nigeria?" And before Simon responded to the question coming from the prosecuting lawyer, he asked the presiding judge to grant him the permission to speak. And the presiding judge gave him the green light and asked him to respond or to reply to the questions coming from the prosecuting lawyer. And Simon said, "What I have done, sir, is to bring international attention to the plight of the Biafran people. What is happening in the southeast of Nigeria is humanitarian crisis, and I chose to use my voice to highlight that." The prosecuting lawyer responded by saying, "That wasn't the question, Mr. Simon. I asked you if you promoted secession, not whether you justified it. Did you or did you not advocate for the formation of an independent state of Biafra?" Simon responded by saying, "I support the right of the Biafran people to self-determination, which is recognized under international law. That does not mean I led rebellion." And the prosecuting lawyer responded by saying, "You are aware, are you not, that several of your broadcasts have coincided with the days of the sit-at-home protest, road blockages, and even violent attacks in southeastern region of Nigeria?" Simon said, "I'm not responsible for what others do. I don't encourage violence. If people choose to act, they acted out of frustration from years of marginalization. The prosecuting lawyer responded by saying, but your words, your own videos, include phrases such as, we must take back our land from the Nigerian state, and no retreat, no surrender. Do you consider that language peaceful? Simon responded by saying, that is political speech. Passionate, yes, but not criminal. There's a difference between activism and incitement. The prosecuting lawyer said, and yet, Mr. Simon, Nigerian authorities link several acts of violence and killings to the IPOB faction you promote. Are you denying any connection? Simon said, I have never ordered anyone to kill. If violence occurred, it is the failure of the Nigerian state and not my words from Finland. The prosecutor asked him, so you take no responsibility whatsoever for the unrest that followed in your broadcast? Simon responded by saying, I take responsibility for raising awareness. The blood on the street is the result of decades of injustice, not my live stream. Well, to cut the whole conversation on, the prosecuting lawyer was asking the presiding judge to not grant Simon a possible bail. That this guy, if you grant him bail, he will somehow, some way influence other individuals out there and to create insecurity in the southeastern region of Nigeria. Interestingly, the prosecuting lawyer said, okay, if you must grant this man a bail, if the court of law must grant this man a bailing condition, he has to do or has to meet some conditions which are very, very stringent. Well, to better understand what I'm talking about, let's go back to the courtroom and hear what the prosecuting lawyer had to say regarding Simon's bailing conditions. He stated, and I quote, my lord, should this honorable court be minded to grant defendants bail despite our objections, the prosecution respectfully proposes the following stringent conditions in the interest of national security and public order. The very first condition here is that the defendants must renounce in writing and on video all affiliations with the Biafraland independence movement, including the IPOB and any allied groups, and publicly broadcast his renunciation across all social media channels within 48 hours of release. The second condition is that the defendant shall surrender all international travel documents, including his Nigerian and Finnish passport, if he has any, to the court, and must not apply for replacement pending the conclusion of the trial. The third condition is that Mr. Simon must wear an electronic ankle monitor with GPS tracking, monitored 24/7 by the Finnish Security Service, and must not leave his registered residence without prior written approval from the authorities. And the fourth one is that he must shut down all personal and affiliated social media accounts, YouTube channels, live stream platforms, and Telegram groups immediately or risk automatic revocation of bail. The fifth condition is that Simon shall report physically to the nearest Finnish police station every morning and evening for biometric check-in 7 days a week until the trial concludes. And the sixth condition is that the defendant shall be banned from making any public statement, direct or indirect, about Nigeria, Biafra, the Nigerian government, or any issue related to the southeast region of Nigeria throughout the duration of the trial. And the seventh condition is that he shall submit a detailed list of all financial accounts and digital wallets, including crypto holdings, which will be monitored for any donations, transfers, or foreign contributions related to political activism. And the eighth condition is that the defendant, that is Simon, must provide 2 sureties, each a Finnish citizen with a no criminal record, each willing to deposit over 100,000 euros in cash as a bond, forfeitable upon any violation. And the ninth condition is that he must consent to the seizure and forensic examination of all his communication devices, phones, computers, tablets, for the purpose of ongoing investigation. And number 10 is, lastly, your lordship, any breach, including vague online comments that could be interpreted as incitement, shall result in immediate rearrest, contempt charges, and permanent revocation of bail. And these, like I said, are the conditions enlisted by the prosecuting lawyer. Yes, going through these whole conditions, we notice that all of them looks fair. From number 1 to number 8 looks fair. These conditions are something that anybody facing trial should meet. But the ninth condition, there's a problem there. Yes, the ninth condition doesn't sit well with me personally. Let me read out the ninth condition so you can see and understand. The ninth condition states, and I quote, he must consent to seizure and forensic examination of all his communication devices, phones, computers, tablets, for the purpose of ongoing investigation. This sounds like a big trap. Yes, this sounds like the prosecuting lawyer is trying to do something, but he is actually anticipating at this particular point in time. Interestingly, the moment the prosecuting lawyer outlined all of these 10 conditions that Simon must meet before he be granted bail, the defense lawyer, that is to say, Simon's lawyer, had to stand up and object immediately. Let's listen to what Simon's lawyer had to say. He states, and I quote, "My lord, with your permission, I rise with deep concern to respond to what I consider not merely an excessive bail condition, but a clear violation of fundamental legal principles. The prosecution is asking the court to impose a condition that my client, Mr. Simon, must surrender all of his communication devices, his phones, computers, tablets, for forensic examination as a precondition for bail. My lord, I must be blunt. This is not a bail condition. This is an open-ended investigative shortcut. This is not about ensuring attendance in court. It's about prying into every corner of the defendant's private life, professional activity, and constitutionally protected communication. The law is clear. If the state wishes to conduct a forensic search of a citizen's devices, there's a legal process. They must obtain a search warrant supported by specific credible evidence and subject to judicial oversight. What they are proposing have bypassed all of that. They are attempting to wrap investigative access in the clothes of bail condition, and that, my lord, is unacceptable. Let us consider what is at stake. The devices contain privileged legal communications, correspondence with international human rights observers, confidential information from journalists, and possibly even medical data. There are privacy rights at play here, rights guaranteed not just by national laws, but by international human rights treaties. If the court allows this, we risk setting a precedent which any accused person, even before conviction, is forced to hand over or the entirety of their digital life simply for the chance to await trial outside a cell. That is not justice. My lord, that is coercion. The prosecution cannot use bail to achieve what they do not have the evidence or the legal grounds to demand through proper channels. This is not just procedural flawed, it is constitutionally dangerous. Mr. Simon is here. He has submitted himself to the jurisdiction of the court. He has not absconded, evaded, or refused cooperation. There is no justification, none, for this level of intrusion, especially when framed as a condition for temporal liberty. And so, my lord, with all due respect, I urge this honorable court to reject this condition entirely. Let bail serve its true purpose, not become a tool for unlawful data seizure or intimidation disguised as legality. I thank you, your lordship. As you can see, this is a conversation, or this was a statement addressed to the presiding judge coming from Simon's lawyer, claiming that you cannot go through my client's devices when his case has come to an end. It's unlawful, it's unjust. As we speak, we don't even know why the prosecuting lawyer is asking to see the content of his devices. This sounds very fishy, and this sounds very upsetting. So let's go back to the courtroom and see what follows suit afterwards. After the lawyer representing Simon made a speech addressed to the presiding judge, the prosecuting lawyer asked the judge to have a conversation, to have a one-on-one conversation with the defense lawyer, that is to say, to have a conversation with Simon's lawyer regarding the bail conditions. Yes, these guys want to have a full debate and have a full legal-minded conversations in the court of law. And this is where trouble, and this is where drama kickstarted fully in the court session. So the question here is, what really happened? Well, let's go back to the courtroom and see the conversation between the prosecutor and the defense lawyer. The defense lawyer, that is Simon's lawyer, started by saying, "My lord, with great respect, I rise to challenge a condition which, if allowed to stand, will set a dangerous precedent, not just for this case, but for any defendant standing before any court in this jurisdiction. I refer specifically to conditions number 9, the demand that my client, Mr. Simon, must consent to the seizure and forensic examination of all his communication devices, including phones, computers, and tablets. This is without question an egregious overreach." The prosecutor responded by saying, "With due respect to learned counsel, this condition is neither egregious nor unusual under circumstances such as this. The prosecution submits that this condition is necessary, proportional, and entirely justified by the facts before the court. We are not dealing with ordinary suspects. We are dealing with a man who has used digital platforms to influence movement across national borders, activities which are currently under active investigations. Simon's lawyer responded by saying, and this court to become an extensive of your investigative department, if the state wishes to search my client's devices, the route is clear and lawful. Apply for a warrant, bring evidence before a competent judge. The prosecution is attempting here is to circumvent due process by disguising state surveillance as a bail condition. Let us call this what it is, my lord, a backdoor attempt to rummage through my client's private, professional, and privileged communications without judicial oversight. The prosecuting lawyer responded by saying, my lord, we are not asking for access without oversight. The forensic examination would be conducted by certified professionals under court authority. Furthermore, the devices in question may contain crucial evidence that ties Mr. Simon to calls for civil disobedience, sedation, and even incitement to violence in Nigeria. We are investigating real-world consequences of his broadcast. Lives have been lost, communities destabilized. Simon's lawyer responded by saying, my lord, even if that were the case, and I do not concede that it is, the prosecution cannot turn the bail process into an evidence harvesting operation. Bail is meant to ensure the defendant's availability for trial, not to secure access to materials that have no legal right to seize without warrant. Moreover, these devices include privileged correspondence between counsel and client, journalistic sources and contacts, personal, medical, and family records, financial information unrelated to the case at hand. You are asking the court to grant blanket access, my lord. This doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form. And the prosecutor responded by saying, my lord, we must not elevate the defendant's privacy above the safety of the public. If Mr. Simon has been using these devices to fuel unrest remotely, as we suspect, and as an evidence suggests, then this court has the duty to act in the public interest. National security cannot be left vulnerable because of technicalities. And the lawyer representing Simon stood up and said, technicalities? Sir, you call the Constitution a technicality, you call judicial process a technicality. The public interest is not served by trampling the rights of the accused. It is served by protecting the integrity of the justice system. Today, it is Simon. Tomorrow, it could be any journalist, any activist, any citizen with dissenting views. What's next? Mandatory polygraphs before the bail? False confessions wrapped in legal language? The prosecutor responded by saying, let us not descend into hyperbole. The defendant is not being forced to confess. He is being asked to comply with the necessary investigation under judicial supervision. And let the court note, this request is made in light of the fact that Mr. Simon operates from a foreign country and has demonstrated the ability to use online anonymity and encryption to conceal operations. This is not about punishing dissent. It's about exposing coordinated threats to lawful order. And Simon's lawyer said, and I say again, if you have such evidence, apply for a warrant, bring a proper motion, but do not ask the court to launder an unlawful request through a bail condition. If the court grants this request, it invites abuse. It makes bail contingent, not on risks of flight or breach of peace, but on how much digital territory the state can seize from an accused person. And the lawyer from the government said, and if the court rejects it, your lordship risks allowing a potentially dangerous figure to continue operating unchecked from the shadows. Simon's lawyer said, my client has been arrested, charged, and brought before this honorable court. He has not resisted arrest. He has not absconded. He has not violated any order of this court. There's no legal basis, none, to impose a condition this extreme under the guise of fairness. And this, like I said, is a conversation that went on and on between the lawyer, the prosecuting lawyer, and Simon's lawyer regarding the bail condition. So as you can clearly see, the lawyer of Simon is not too happy with the number 9 condition, which we've explained, that gives the prosecutor the right to go through Simon's devices, all of his devices, from his laptops, his phones, and every other single thing out there. And this is what Simon's lawyer has been trying to prevent from happening. Anyway, just in case you find this video interesting, please do well to subscribe and turn on post notifications. Thanks. Back in the courtroom, the presiding judge will make a speech to address the defense lawyer. That is to say, the presiding judge will make a speech to address Simon's lawyer's statement. He states, and I quote, "Learned counsel, before this court rises, I would like you to clarify something. You've objected vigorously to condition number 9, the proposed forensic seizures and examination of your client's communication devices. You've spoken passionately, but tell this court plainly, why exactly are you so much against it? What, in your view, makes the condition so intolerable?" And Simon's lawyer will respond by saying, "Thank you, my lord, for that question. With your leave, I will respond as clearly as I can. My lord, I'm so strongly opposed to the condition because it violates the very foundation of what bail, justice, and legal fairness represent. This is not a routine search request. It is sweeping demand for total digital surrender without a warrant, without limits, and without relevance to the specific purpose of bail, which is to ensure my client's presence at trial. It is equivalent of handling the prosecution, a master key to my client's entire private life, his political thoughts, his conversations with journalists, even his legal strategies. Now, let me be direct, my lord. I object because the condition turns presumptions of innocence into suspicion of guilt. Object because it creates a backdoor to compel operation with an investigation my client is not legally obliged to assist. And I object because it sends a terrifying signal that an accused person must trade his rights in order to buy his freedom. This is not justice, my lord. It is coercion dressed in judicial robes. Furthermore, my client is a journalist, a political activist, and a man engaged in controversial discourse. His digital device contains names and faces of confidential sources, which includes internal strategy documents, private with family, physicians, lawyers, and international observers. What the prosecution wants is not targeted. It is not specific. It is not supported by affidavits or reasonable suspicion reviewed by a neutral magistrate. It's a blank check, my lord. And if this honorable court endorses it, then bail will no longer be about liberty. It will be about leverage. I oppose it not because I fear what they may find. I oppose it because this court should not be turned into an instrument for political institution or investigatory shortcuts. Let us not betray the dignity of this court in the name of national interest. The moment we accept that principle, there will be no breaks left. My lord, this is why I'm so much against the 9th condition. I must oblige." At this particular point in time, the presiding judge would ask the defense lawyer, that is to say, the presiding judge would ask Simon's lawyer to please tell me or enlist bail conditions that sounds fair. Yes, me being the presiding judge, I want to hear you enlist bail conditions that are fair enough. And Simon's lawyer will say, "My lord, in the spirit of fairness and a recognition of serious nature of the charges before this honorable court, the defense respectfully proposes the following bail conditions to ensure the presence of the defendant at trial while preserving his fundamental rights. The very first bail condition is residence restrictions. My client, Mr. Simon, shall reside at his location, which is a verifiable address in Lahti, Finland, and shall not relocate without notifying this honorable court and the relevant Finnish authorities. The second condition I think would make sense is travel ban. He shall not travel outside Finland for the duration of his trial without express permission from the court. The third is weekly reporting. My client Simon shall report to the nearest police station in Lahti once a week every Monday between 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. for documentation and confirmation of his continued presence in Finland. While the next condition will be passport surrender. My client Simon shall surrender both his Nigerian and Finnish passports, if available, to the registry of this court until conclusion of the trial. And the next is non-interference clause. He shall not directly or indirectly contact or interfere with any witnesses listed in the prosecution's case, whether in person, online, or through any third party. And the next is non-incitement undertaking. Mr. Simon undertakes not to make any public statement that can reasonably be interpreted as incitement to violence or civil disobedience during the pendency of this trial. And the next condition should be financial surety. My client should provide one credible finished surety of good character with no criminal record, who will execute a recognizance bond of 30,000 euros. And the next condition should be digital activity declaration. My client, Mr. Simon, shall submit a signed affidavit to this court declaring that he will not use his online platforms to issue direct calls for protest actions in Nigeria during the trial period. However, he shall retain the right to express lawful political opinion consistent with freedom of expression. And the next condition should be availability for trial. He shall undertake in writing to be present at all trial dates as scheduled and not delay proceedings unnecessary. The next condition is automatic revocation clause. Any deliberate violation of the above conditions shall result in an immediate revocation of bail, issuance of a bench warrant, and forfeiture of surety bond. And these are the conditions enlisted by Simon's lawyer. He also went a step further to claim that, my lord, these conditions are more than sufficient to guarantee my client's availability and lawful conduct. They strike the necessary balance between the seriousness of the charges and constitutional presumption of innocence. I respectfully urge the court to adopt them in full. At this particular point in time, the prosecutor has stood up to heavily criticize and to heavily correct all the bailing conditions enlisted by Simon's lawyer. He started by saying, and I quote, "My lord, I'm grateful for the opportunity to respond. While the defense has submitted a set of what appears at first glance to be reasonable conditions, we submit that they are insufficient, lacking in enforceability, and fail to match the gravity of the allegations against the defendant." And the prosecuting lawyer went on and on to heavily criticize all the comments and heavily criticize all the conditions enlisted by Simon's lawyer. Things got really interesting and really intense in the court session, and that is when the presiding judge had to come in and calm the whole situation. So yes, so just in case you don't understand what is currently going on, the prosecuting lawyer told the court that Simon must meet certain conditions in the courtroom, and Simon's lawyer came up to say, no, your conditions are not fair, and these are the conditions I think Simon must meet or Simon must follow in order to get absolute bail in the courtroom session. Yes, these guys had arguments on and on until the presiding judge had to step in and calm the whole situation down. At this particular point in time, the presiding judge asked both the legal counsel team of Simon and the legal counsel team of the prosecuting lawyer to go for a short break, that is to say, to go for a recess and recontinue in a short period of time. So the court went on a recess, went for a short break, and they reconvened after 30 minutes. Yes, at this particular point in time, we don't have enough time to showcase what followed suit afterwards. We don't have enough time to expose all of the conversations had between the two lawyers and the presiding judges. But then tomorrow by 8 p.m, we are going to definitely continue the whole video and give you a detailed analysis of what followed suit afterwards. Yes, anyways, in our previous video, we gave a full and detailed analysis of what is currently happening to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in the DS facility. Yes, just in case you don't know, a lot of activities and a lot of events has played out in the DSS dungeon situated or located in Abuja, Nigeria, that we all need to know and understand at this particular point in time. Yes, as we speak, Nnamdi Kanu's restriction has been heightened, his security structure has been heightened, and the level of security awareness has been increased. So the question here is, why is that happening? Well, in our previous video, we extensively exposed and we extensively showcased every single thing that's happening and playing out behind the scenes in the DSS facility and how Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is currently faring. Just in case you missed that video, a video released a couple of hours back, we have a video right on this channel that will showcase and discuss every single thing that you need to know and understand And that video is showing right now on your screen. So click on this video to watch and understand. Click on this particular video and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for watching.
All right, haven't heard the issue of Mazi Simon Èkpá Njoku. We are praying and being optimistic that everything will work out in favor of Mazi Simon Èkpá Njoku. As we all know, who is being held, just as Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is also being held. Like I always say, they are trying to silence the voices of these heroes, from speaking about Biafra. Now, let us go to other issues today. As federal government called for peaceful referendum, Nnamdi Kanu's only, not war. IPOB speaks out. And then without wasting your time, let us go straight up to this one. The indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has replied the Nigerian federal government of information that its leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's only call was for peaceful referendum. Nnamdi Kanu only call was for peaceful referendum and not war. It also said that Kanu preached self-determination, not terror, urging the Nigerian Federal Government Ministry of Information to dissipate his attack and campaign against Kanu to solving the problem of buying by Fulani herdsmen they have been pampering in Benue State. IPOB accused the federal government of Nigeria and its security services, particularly DSS, using the name of Nnamdi Kanu to cover the acquirements in Benue State and other states by Fulani herdsmen to divert attention of the public. The pro-Biafran group said that the problem of the indigenous people, like those in Benue State, is their ignoring the warning of Kanu, whom they and many other indigenous people called all sorts of names when he warned of the doom that is befalling them. You see, these prophecies of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu can never be overemphasized because, we keep on going back to those prophecies because they have turned out to be the most accurate prophecies that would have saved humanity, that would have saved the zoo, that would have saved, these spying here and there, from these people. The reality is that which one can we say and which one can we not say? Just the same way Mazi Nnamdi Kanu warned them, both Benue people, both Benue people were still among the people who called Mazi Nnamdi Kanu all sort of name. But today, the world, is beginning to see another aspect of this man's prophecy, and that is the aspect of his accuracy. And the big question is, how was he able to know? I've said it. There are people whose intelligence or IQ becomes so high, that they begin to predict the future. And not just predicting the future, they begin to predict accurately how the future is going to turn out to be. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is one of those people. You've heard it. Even as we keep on talking about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, we'll continue to talk about Simon Èkpá Njoku, who is also being held illegally by the zoo government. Yes, the zoo government, in collaboration with the Finnish authority, because, they are complicit of this whole thing. I'll keep on saying it, and that is why both the zoo, both the so-called IPOB and, the DOS rather, and the Finnish authorities are holding Mazi Simon Èkpá. The big question now poised to, why will they continue to hold all these Biafran heroes, all in the guise of, trying to suppress the voices that continue to rise for the freedom of Biafran and Africa? Remember that Biafra still represents Africa. And if Biafra can get that freedom, then Africa has been liberated from a lot of issues. So that is that on the issue of Mazi Simon Èkpá. Tomorrow we'll be giving you big time updated information on everything trending and happening in Biafraland on the issue of Mazi Simon Èkpá, as we hope that his freedom comes tomorrow.